Hello again, everyone. This is Mr. E, your STEM OG, and welcome back to what we'll call part 2 of lesson 2. In lesson 1, we learned how to draw two diagonal lines. In this lesson, we will program the lines to move based on an input, actually two inputs, a potentiometer and a light sensor. So we're going to add our potentiometer and our light sensor and use them to animate this display. Now remember, the range of our potentiometer or light sensor is 0 to 100, but the range on our x-axis is 1 to 128. Therefore, we're going to have to remap or map the reading from the input device to match that of our x-axis. Welcome to lesson 2, controlling those lines with an input. So we're going to control our x values using an input such as a light sensor or a potentiometer, actually both in this case. So let's set up our code. I'm going to set our cursor. And remember, our potentiometer range is 0 to 100, but our x-axis on our display is 1 to 128. So I'm going to use a map block to match these two. Now we'll talk more about map blocks later on, but right now, let's go ahead and pull that down. So we have our block for our input. In this case, I already have my light sensor plugged in, and now we're going to map it. We're going to map the potentiometer or the light sensor to match the x values or possible x values on our display. So we've done this before. We're going to draw from line 128. I'm sorry, I'm going to draw always draw the line to 128.64, that bottom right hand corner. And we're going to control our x values. It'll make sense in a second. So we see our x values are moving. We're always drawing to 128.64. Now let's draw a second line. We did this in the other lesson. So the x value of our draw line 2 is going to change with the input. So the x changes, but the y stays 64. Again, we have to map. But now we're going to use the math block to change our x value. So we want to subtract whatever comes in our input from 128 and move the x value along the x-axis. Remember, 128 is our largest x value. So we're subtracting because we want to move from right to left, from 128 down to say 1. And if you don't understand, you play around with it a little bit to get a better understanding. So we're going to control that x value, draw line 2, it changes with the input. And our y value stays the same. Let's see what that looks like. Uploading our code. And we change our input value by covering the light. Less light is going to change our x value. And we know how easy Toki is. Just unplug our light sensor, plug in our potentiometer, and the same thing. Great job using the math block and map block.